You're listening to the Theme Park Blitzcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, happy Monday, March 1st, 2021. We have an incredible show for you lined up. And I know I basically say that every single week, but this week I really mean it because we had an incredible interview with Midway Mayhem of YouTube and Instagram fame. You probably follow him yourself. He has a big following. And we just had this incredibly, surprisingly deep and reflective conversation about this hobby, this community, what it is to make theme park content, theme park videos, what it's like to watch that content, why he does what he does, why we do what we do. There's just so many good nuggets in there that I think you will really enjoy the conversation. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that interview. There is no news this week because, number one, it's a long interview, and number two, because Tess is on assignment getting more footage for our channel. So quick plug, if you aren't subscribed to us on YouTube or you don't follow us on Instagram, be sure to do so. We post all the time, lots of good videos, reviews, editorials, POVs, all that kind of stuff. So on YouTube, you can find us by searching Theme Park Blitz. We're the one with the fun cartoon logo. And on Instagram, you can follow us at Theme Park Blitz. Okay, that's all I'm going to say as far as plugs go. Let's go straight into the interview. Enjoy. Today we have a very special guest on the show. He's a theme park photographer and videographer based in Orlando, Florida. He's an expert on all things theme park construction and design. He's traveled around the country to bring the latest theme park content to his 41,000 subscribers. Please welcome to the show the man behind the popular YouTube channel Midway Mayhem, Daniel. Thanks so much for coming on.
What is up, Midway Mayhem fans? How you doing? And of course, thank you guys for having me on this podcast. It's a pleasure.
Of course. No, happy to have you come on.
I want to ask tons of questions. I'm actually very curious.
And I have no time limit, so it's whatever you guys. I am yours.
Awesome. So I guess I kind of wanted to start at the beginning with some very basic background questions. So if you could just tell us, how exactly did you get into filming theme parks as a hobby?
See, and that's not a basic background question. I mean, let's be honest. This is something I've been doing for my entire life. Well, let's be honest here. And I've told many people before, it's an honest story of how I kind of got into it. So even at the age of like 4 and 5, I was taking printer paper and I was putting like 10, 15 segments in a row and I was drawing roller coasters from one end all the way to the other. So, and this is at a young age. I don't know what it was. And then we would go to the theme parks, and my dad was terrified of heights, literally had acrophobia, tall curbs. The running joke was he would get scared. So you keep that in mind, and he still rode the roller coasters with me. And I have some of the funniest on-ride photos with him and White Knuckles. I mean, the whole white knuckle expression, he had it. And sadly, he passed away when I was 13. And it was one of those things, instead of turning to drugs and other bad things, theme parks were my drug. It was my way to escape how bad everything was in the world. And I've always said before, it's pretty tough to have a bad day when you can ride a roller coaster.
I agree.
Wow, that's a great way of putting it. That you were able to turn to theme parks as sort of a great way to cope and to experience that jovial side of life.
Well, and I think a lot of people turn to theme parks for escapism, especially in times like right now. You know, Florida's more booming right now, let's be honest. So it's one of those things, people want to get away. They want to have good times with their family. And I've always been one of those principles behind it is I don't do it unless it's fun. Plain and simple. If I'm not going to enjoy it, I don't do it. And it's one of those things, doing theme parks for so many years, I've worked for many websites, and it got to the point where, 5-6 years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm working for a lot of other people and I'm not seeing the return on it for the amount of time and effort that I'm doing. The only way to fix that is start it up myself. And that's what I've done with Midway Mayhem. So it's taken a long time to get where we are, even with 41,000. And I don't even know why people want to watch us, to be honest. It's like watching grass grow.
Well, I can tell you exactly why people watch it. I mean, it might be grass grow to some people, but I know for all of us theme park enthusiasts and junkies, when your videos come up, it's an opportunity to visit the parks and see updates and all of that, when it not only normally when not all of us can travel, but especially in a time like this where there are travel restrictions in place and that ability to access that escapism isn't as available as it otherwise would be. And so through your content, I think a lot of people seek out the means to visit parks and ride rides that they otherwise have never had the opportunity to visit. Do you remember the first POV you put on your channel with the Midway Mayhem branding?
I honestly would have to look it up. I mean, we've done dozens and dozens of POVs. We've done ones where I mounted it to the wrist all the way up to where we've mounted it to the trains. If I would have to guess, probably something at Busch Gardens is my guess. So maybe like SheiKra, like Busch Gardens Tampa is my guess.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So I was doing a lot of POVs, and when I had first got my GoPro Hero 5, I wanted to test it out. So I think I took it to Busch Gardens. I'm pretty positive the first POVs that I put up on Midway Mayhem was from that.
I'm like going through the YouTube channel right now.
Oh yeah, you go ahead and do the research test. It kind of is a perfect segue into my question about, how has your kit evolved through time? I know you said you worked for some other websites. When you started, was it more amateurish, just like for your own enjoyment, and then it just grew and grew, or did you start out from the beginning with the professional style equipment ready to make that kind of content?
So, I mean, this is going to be a long answer on this one, but I'll start out kind of in the beginning of that question. So, I started out on a website called beakerscoasters.8k.com. And
Catchy.
if the .8k doesn't tell you, that is like from very, very, very old times ago. And when that started up, there were maybe 5 or 10 roller coaster websites, period. We're talking like Coaster Buzz, some of the other names like that.
Right.
That was it. So we were going around the parks, taking photos and videos, and I've always liked construction. I used to have erector sets, connects, and stuff like that, and all I'm doing is I'm watching other people play with erector sets and connects right now. So worked with different websites, but I always had just a basic, like the first camera I had was this camcorder, shot mini DV. And I remember having to take that footage and digitally transfer it over to the computers. And it was a whole process with the editing and all that stuff. It took a lot longer than, of course, what you can just do with a memory card right now.
Sure.
So I had to learn everything from scratch. I've never taken a single photography course. I've never taken anything in college for it. Everything was because I had my hand on a camera and because I just played with it. And I tell people all the time, the best camera to have is the one that's in your hands. It doesn't matter if it's a cell phone, doesn't matter if it's a DSLR. I've had so many opportunities where I would have missed a shot if I didn't even just have my cell phone. So,
right.
You can have the biggest, fanciest camera in the world. You could spend $20,000 on it. But guess what? If it's out of focus, that's not going to help you. Little things can happen. And I've learned through the times that keep it simple, I've gotten some nice equipment through the years, but I made a lot of sacrifices to do that. A lot of hard work doing it. I used to have a race car and do racing and stuff like that. And I sold the race car so I could buy all the equipment for Midway. So that's how it kind of started with us. Just, got a nice camera, worked from there, started getting more revenue, started reinvesting. All the money that we've had from Midway goes right back into the site. It never goes into our pockets or anything else like that. If we make money, we're trying to reinvest it back into the page. So whether it's installing cameras on the Star Flyer to cameras that are on Icon right now, doing time lapse for the new rides, we're doing a lot of stuff that people don't know about, kind of behind the scenes. Sorry for that long-winded answer, but it's one of those starting out. It was very, very. It was very simple times, very few sites, and now there are thousands. And it's tough to stand out. And there's a lot of great other content producers, out there. Like Taylor from Coaster Studios is one of my good friends. He does amazing stuff, and he's such a brilliant mind. He goes to college for all this kind of stuff, and I'm very proud of him. And I look up to him. He does some cool stuff, and I would love to be able to do some of the stuff that he does. And vice versa. I know that I have some cool opportunities that he's probably like, dang, that would be nice. So I feel if you really put in the time and effort in this industry, it'll pay off, but it will take some time.
And you've invested in yourself. Like you said, any money that you get, you put it right back into what you need to make your channel the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, we have 3 people. It's Lauren, my wife, myself, and then we have Nelson, who's attending college right now, and he hasn't had a chance to do a whole bunch of content for us recently, but he is a vital part of the team that helps out and whatnot, but we're very small. It's one of those, I would love to be able to have 10 people on staff.
And editors
those means aren't available
thumbnail
right now.
designers. I know that's, YouTube is obviously a big industry nowadays, and a lot of those big channels have that. But I think what you said is pretty inspiring, I think, for a lot of people, because I've heard just from other people in the community that the barrier to entry can be intimidating sometimes. If you watch a video like one of Taylor's videos from Coaster Studios, and it's 4K and 60 frames per second and beautifully shot with a gimbal on a Sony, whatever. But I think what you said speaks to the fact that as long as you're following what you find interesting, what you love, what you find fascinating, and you have that sense of creativity, it doesn't matter whether you have a $10,000 camera or just your cell phone. If the passion is there, you can produce some pretty amazing things.
Absolutely. And I've always said it before, and I don't care if this is going to offend some people on our page. It's one of those, I do this because I enjoy it. Anybody that has negative comments or anything else like that, you're never going to get to me, because I do this out of love. It's one of those, I will always do this. I literally have a DNA double helix of roller coaster track tattooed down my spine.
That's awesome.
And I do this all for my dad and for my family. So it's like, I don't care if people don't like it. They hit the dislike button or they talk trash or something like that. Yeah, it sucks that it happens, but I will always do this for the love of theme parks. Plain simple.
Well, you know what they say, never read the comments, but it sounds like, I think for everyone who's listening, and I'm sure fans of your page, that when the passion and the love in there, and the genuine, sincere love for the community and appreciation for the rides is there, that's always going to attract people. And I think that speaks a lot to why you have such a popular channel and a popular brand.
Yeah. I was going to say just one kind of final comment on that. It's like, I've said it before, and it's one of those things I extend it to you guys. I will always be the nicest person. I'll be your best friend. You try to screw me over, I will come after you.
There we go.
So
well,
it's one of those things,
a very
like,
Taken style line.
Yeah, but it's one of those, like, people come up to me all the time and they get nervous. Come up to me. Like, I don't care. Let's go enjoy this testing or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
Stand next to me. Let's have a conversation. Going to theme parks alone is very lonely, guys. It really is. Like, when I have people come up and say hi to me when I'm spending 8 hours at a park, that means the world to me. That's somebody else that enjoys the same stuff that I do. And guess what? You're right there next to me. Let's watch this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess that actually transitions into my next question, which is, how is it different approaching theme parks as a videographer, as a content producer, than just your average theme park guest?
In the beginning, when I first started doing stuff for like Midway and another website prior to Midway, I was kind of nervous at first when I held a camera up and I started my intro and I had 10 people staring at me. And it was one of those subconsciously, like, what am I doing? Am I sounding right? I was trying to pay attention to that. And it got to the point after maybe like 2 weeks or so doing it where I didn't care. You could be standing right next to me, breathing in my face. Hopefully not during these times, but I wouldn't care. And you could do that to me right now. The only thing that bugs me is, like, when people know I'm trying to physically do a video or something like that, don't try to have a conversation. I will talk to you immediately after the run is over or something like that. But it's one of those, like, I will always make time for people if I can,
Does it change the way you go through parks, or the way you manage your time? Like, do you have a day where you do strictly filming, or do you have a day where you try to enjoy the rides yourself, no cameras, no nothing?
It depends on the day. If it's a day where it would be something kind of newsworthy, I usually take a lot of my gear and I focus more on that than I would say the rides. Absolutely, I go to the parks without my camera gear and just ride them. Some days I try to travel light on a day where I know that there may not be as much cool stuff going on. I'll take just the Sony and put the batteries in my pockets, so that way I don't have to put the bag in a locker. So then I can go ride Hagrid's, I can enjoy rides with friends and stuff like that. So it's kind of a day-to-day thing. But recently, I literally just got FAA certified 107 for drone.
Oh, me too.
Now we're going to be doing some content with that. Exciting stuff, isn't it?
So cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that test is pretty annoying to study for with all the aeronautical navigation charts.
Yeah, so it was a trip, but it's one of those things. again, we've reinvested back into our page, and now we're going to be producing some really cool stuff. In fact, we had aerial testing footage of Icebreaker, and that's out there now, and it is beautiful.
I can't wait. I gotta watch that.
It looks like a news helicopter is flying around.
Do you have to get like a permit for that, like from the park? Like, hey, can I fly my drone over this?
Oh, for sure.
That's that. Well, negative.
Oh, really?
Negative. So here's the thing. With the parks that are here in Orlando, it is Class G airspace. Okay. So technically, you can fly over the parks. And per FAA, the parks do not own the airspace. So they can say, oh, we own up to 400 feet. No, negative. I can fly this. But there is a gray line and a fine line where it's like the flight that we did on Tuesday, the park was closed. Okay. There's nobody in the park. There's nobody in the parking lot. And when I flew the drone, I am outside the park. I am on a sidewalk, which is public property, so that I can launch it. And I am not physically on their property. So if they try to say goodbye, it's one of those goodbye yourself.
I'm not even there. Yeah. No, it surprises me that it's Class G airspace, but you're right that, once you're in that 400 feet radius, it's as long as you're not standing on private property and it's not an exclusion zone or anything like that, it's fair game.
Yep.
Obviously you can't fly over people, but if the park is closed, then what a great opportunity.
So it was one of those things. We do not try to take risks without, seriously trying to contemplate all the different things that could possibly go wrong. So like I said, Tuesday, park's closed, nobody's in the parking lot, and we're flying outside the park. So if I do have a flyaway, there's no potential of it hitting anybody or anything else like that. So it's just smart planning and whatnot. But I don't know. It's a very gray area. Now, some other parks, I'm sure, would not be too happy. And of course, Disney has a no-fly zone. Yeah. So you go try to fly a drone there, you go into jail.
For the people who don't know what Class G airspace is, I had to look it up on Google. It's a space very near the ground, up to 1,200 feet. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
They
have some cool stuff. So like, the Orlando Starflyer, is 450 feet above the ground. Within 400 feet of that structure, you can fly 400 feet above it, above ground level. So technically, we could fly up to 850 feet directly over the top of the Starflyer.
Love it. And I'm sure that's a fantastic shot. I know as far as Disney's exclusion, well, we'll all look forward to that. I know as far as Disney's exclusion zone goes, I think I read something not too long ago. They were having trouble flying their own drones in that space because they do have that exclusion zone. And they tried to do a drone show and they were basically told, no, you can't. This is an exclusion zone, which I just thought was hilarious.
You set this up so nobody would fly over, and now you're trying to fly.
Right.
So it's very interesting. But getting back to everything when it comes to like, I just want to have fun at doing all this stuff, and doing the drone stuff is just another avenue. And I'm being honest, I've had more fun with that in the last 2 weeks than I have probably in the last 10 years doing stuff. It's opened up a whole new avenue. It's incredible.
I'm excited for all these videos.
Exactly. All that aerial footage. I'm sure we'll all be ready to consume that as soon as it's put online, as fast as you can produce it. So other than like dealing with rules and regulations as far as airspace and people coming up to you, what are some of the other big challenges of getting your footage at a theme park?
Parks. Being honestly, in the beginning, like with Mako, I would have security follow me around the parks. It's happened at multiple locations. Let's be honest. Here's a white dude walking in with a big beard. This is pre-COVID, okay? Yeah. No. This is nothing against the parks. I'm glad they have these protocols and safety procedures, okay? But it's one of those like, here I am, a white dude with a beard going through Disney security. Out of 30 times, I got stopped probably 25 for the quote random check.
Yeah, very random.
And I had all the camera gear and all that stuff like that. So it's like, I'm not dumb,
right?
But at the same time, security generally is pretty good. It gets a little iffy when you have, bigger gear or something like that. But it's funny, over the last couple of years, I've built kind of a relationship with a lot of the employees at the parks. I can go to SeaWorld now. These guys I love. They treat me like family. I can tell you probably 30% of the staff there. 30%. Wow. That's crazy. People that I physically talk to regularly because I see them all the time. And even security, they'll come up and it's one of those, hey, how you doing? Instead of, 5 years ago, what are you doing?
Right.
You know,
30% of the staff is probably subscribed to your channel.
Yeah. And even today I had an employee that was working at the Orchid Encounter gift shop, and she came up and was like, I've been following your page since Mako Madness, and it's so nice to finally meet you and all that. And we talked for, 5-10 minutes right before Icebreaker did a test run. But it's so humbling just to hear all these stories and how people, I get people sending messages from overseas saying it gives them something to look forward to. It gives them hope, especially in times like this. A lot of the UK is under lockdown. They can't go out.
Yeah.
This is their way to kind of get out. And I am very humbled by the response and the love. I say it in every single premiere that we do. I do this for the fans. I really do. I have a lot of fun with it, and I'm very happy to be able to say that I love what I do.
Well, I'm glad to hear that some of the park employees and just park staff has been so receptive to you being able to go and get that footage that we all enjoy. I guess you said SeaWorld is probably included in this category, but what are some of the best theme parks for you personally to go film at that you just enjoy filming at, or it's the easiest?
Easiest would definitely be Busch and SeaWorld. They're the most welcoming. They let you take GoPros on the coasters. They want the publicity. Right. Disney, they're pretty welcoming. Universal, pretty welcoming, kind of. I mean,
with an asterisk,
it's hit or
maybe.
miss.
Yeah,
it's hit or miss in a sense. Like I said, I understand why they have the security protocols that they do, and I fully encourage them. So it's one of those, they make the rules. It's their property. I have to abide by them. And that's what we do. It's not like I'm climbing over walls or I'm hiding in bushes or anything else like that. I have to abide by all the rules that a normal guest does as they're in the park. So it's like, if the park is closed at 8:00 and they're clearing guests out at 8:35, I can't just stand around past security and be like, hey, I'm going to get the shot. Even though it has been offered in the past at other parks where security has literally said, yo, I'll let you stay for another 10 minutes. I don't do that, because if somebody from the parks wants my information as far as when was this shot, I don't want any questions.
Right.
I cover my butt a lot so that, we can do what we do. It gets a lot of praise, but it gets a lot of not so happy eyes sometimes from the parks.
Sure.
There have been parks we've reached out for media, even locally here, and they have said, thank you, but no thank you. And their exact reason was because it was not, quote, clean. It was not show ready. And that was their excuse, yet I still see them sharing other people's.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like...
So it's one of those things, like, I'm not dumb. There is some bias. There is very cliquey things in this industry.
Yeah.
There is no lie there. But like I said, I keep my head down, and I'm just going to keep doing what I do. So if it's one of those, if they ever want to reach out and we'll try to work something, I'll be happy, but I'm not going to extend my hand anymore.
Well, I won't bring up potentially some of the worst theme parks to film at, in case you don't want to burn any bridges there.
I'm not going to even comment on it. That's a whole bad subject that I don't want to get into.
I will leave that at that. So I'll move on here. What do you think, just generally, some of your favorite rides to film are in the area, whether it's been in Orlando or just across the country? What are some of the rides where you go back and look at the footage and you're just like, wow, this is incredible?
I think one of my greatest opportunities that I've ever had is being able to work for the Slingshot group, who is the guys that do fun time rides, slingshots, drop towers, Starflyer, those kind of rides. And back when Starflyer was getting built, I was taking photos, construction like I normally do, had never reached out to the company, never even talked to these people. And I'm there on the site one day, just taking photos, and this gentleman comes up to me and he ask who I am, and he looks very important and all that. So, who are you? Why are you here? Kind of thing, not in a mean way. And I tell him, and he goes, no bleep. And it's one of those like, oh God, am I in trouble? And he's like, I just got an email from some friends overseas in England that said, you've got to check this guy's stuff out of your new ride that's going up.
Oh my gosh.
And here you are. So ever since that moment, we were working together. So taking photos, videos. I was on the first ever ride of that thing. When they set it up with the guys that built it, I was on.
That's amazing.
I've had the opportunity to climb to the very top of that thing and act like King Kong or a gargoyle in Notre Dame, kind of thing. And that right there is no amount of money in this world that could buy that kind of experience. You
Sure.
know, there at the time, there were less than 10 people that had ever gone to the top of that thing. And it's the highest structure in Orlando for a ride.
Yeah.
And here I am standing at the top just another day. And that's something that I hold very near and dear. The footage was incredible. And even with the new stuff that I have a shoot that I'm going to be doing for them coming up soon. And I just can't wait.
So you guys are like partners? Like they like employ you? Is that how that works?
It's a weird thing. So it's like they technically employ me, but they don't employ me. Like we still have to fill out taxes. Let's put it that way.
Got it.
Okay.
Don't worry. I'll make sure if the IRS is listening that they know you got your 1099
Let's
or
put it
whatever
that.
it is.
There's no under the table stuff. Everything is legit. There are contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's recently come to the point because back when I was doing the Starflyer stuff, it was just, hey, you know, let's see what you can do. I'll give you access and stuff like that. And let's be honest, nobody is going to give anybody access like what we had. So you can't just walk up to SeaWorld and go, yo, I want to go climb your tower. It's not going to happen, you know? So, and these guys, I love them. And again, they've treated me like family and they have given me so many vital tools to make what Midway is. Like I said, we've done a lot of back stuff that people don't know about or we haven't shared that much. I took 2 climbing courses with these guys. So I am high climb certified.
Wow.
You know, for these rides, I can climb and it's you have to be
cool.
certified and all that stuff. And I'm also rescue certified. So if somebody gets injured or something has to happen, I can get up there and save a life. And I wouldn't be able to have that opportunity if it was not for the guys at Magical Midway and the Starflyer group and all those guys. So it's been incredible. Even the drone stuff that we did recently, they foot the bill on it because they know that it's something that's going to help them out and they know that there's potential there. And again, it's very humbling. I've said it many times before, but it's like these guys want me there. You know, it's very different as opposed to a place where it's like, why do you have this camera? These guys are like, bring it. Give me everything you got.
Here's your camera.
You know?
Go do what you got to do.
That's amazing. And it shows just how some of the people in the industry nowadays recognize the appetite for your kind of content out there and how, you know, it all benefits each other. It obviously benefits you, it benefits them, and it benefits all of us at home being able to see that amazing footage. Last comment or last real question on your POV here before we move on to some of the construction stuff, because I know Tess and I have a lot of questions about some upcoming construction in Orlando, or should I say ongoing construction.
Yep.
As far as types of rides to film, your favorite among roller coasters, flat rides, and dark rides?
Roller coasters, I prefer Intamin as a manufacturer. There's just something so awesome about their track design. I don't know what it is. It's beautiful. And I love the fact that Intamin takes a lot of risks with their designs and they fail a lot, let's be honest. But you're not going to succeed in the future if you don't fail somewhere along the lines. And this is a company that still takes those kind of risks. I feel other companies they kind of play it safe, you know. Intamin is, I don't know, it's always going to kind of be in my heart. RMC is up there as well. Those guys are great. I'm not dissing or saying one company is better than the others, but if I had to choose, it'd be Intamin. Flat rides and stuff like that. People are going to say bias, but honestly, it's the Slingshot group. It's because I truly do enjoy their rides. It's something with the Slingshot. My mom, who is a huge space nut, okay? I am a huge NASA person, all of that, all because of her. So when I get her on a Slingshot, she feels like she's going to space, you know, and seeing that kind of enjoyment on my mom's face, you can't take that from me. You know, it's beautiful. So they give me great rides to enjoy time with my family. Even Starflyer, I see a lot of people that get scared, and I tell them, when you get up to the top, it's not really scary. It's kind of, it's peace. It's quiet. Yeah. If nobody's screaming or anything else like that, it's a good way to clear your head. So, and as far as like dark rides, I would say Sally is always one of my favorites. They do really great stuff. I like what they did with, the Justice League rides at Six Flags. It was a nice step up for them. I always like the shooting aspects. Men in Black is another one of my favorites, even though I have never maxed out and I am living in shame.
That might be a point of embarrassment considering how often or how much time you spend at Universal, but have no fear. Neither have I. And Universal was one of our home parks. So Buzz Lightyear, I've maxed out plenty of times. Men in Black has always escaped
same
me.
Here. Yep. Same here.
Well, Yeah, very cool. So I guess now moving on to construction. Now, I think we talked about this a little before we started. A very, very busy time for you, considering you have in your immediate area 3 fantastic, potentially rides being built from the ground up and an Intamin for that matter. So I know you're very excited about that. What makes construction progress so fascinating to document?
I think Velocicoaster is the best one to kind of use for recent memory in a sense. Back when we first started hearing rumors, I mean, Hagrid's was under construction. It was literally just up in the air what kind of possibly Islands of Adventure getting something. And we knew Jurassic Park had a void. And started getting some emails, started hearing some things, and then we started searching around the area. And it all starts with flags, markings on the ground. And once you find them, it's playing connect the dots. And then after that, it's pretty much you try to find permits, you try to find diagrams, different things like that are publicly released, and try to build from there. And it's a very fascinating process just to hear how the rumors go to what actually ends up. But I like covering the whole thing from rumors, markings on the ground, to when dirt is literally getting pushed around, supports, foundations, track all start showing up, stuff's going up, and then after that, rides testing, and the final thing, butts in the seats.
So you're like an investigator, essentially.
I've had this title, and I've told multiple people, and I think it's fitting. I literally am roller coaster paparazzi. I mean, it literally, if there's something exciting going on when it comes to like something new getting built, I've got to be there.
I always thought like watching construction would start with pieces on the ground, but I had no idea it would start with actually looking up public record permits and flags.
Yeah, it's boring stuff, but to be honest, when I see a marking in an area, for me, it's now I've got something for the next 12 months. You know, I've got some cool stuff that I'm going to see. Every coaster, every project is different. All of them have their extremely amazing points, and all of them have their extremely horrible points. Like, let's be honest. Seeing coasters test is amazing. That's why I go during these times, because I love to see them run. But for those that are interested in doing this kind of stuff, you're going to sit, you're going to wait. It's going to be 3, 4, 5, 8 hours of nothing. And you will wait for one opportunity. And you got to have a lot of dedication for those kind of shots. So it's like, I get a lot of questions about how can I do a YouTube? What will make it successful? Hell if I know. If you have that answer, please let me know, kind of thing. But it's one of those, I say dedication is the most important thing. You can't just throw up a video once a month. It's got to be, at least with the algorithms and everything that YouTube does, you've got to produce content every day or every other day. Even with our page, if I go silent for 2 weeks, our page tanks. Absolutely tanks.
Does that put pressure on you then to just keep finding new content to make? Or do you find that living in the area that you do, that there's so many events going on that there's usually something to film?
It's a mixture of things. Like I said, I am an open book when it comes to expressing how things are. If you see me absent on Midway for a while, there's a couple of reasons. One, it's because the other business that I work with, my buddy up in New York, his name is Daniel as well. He has a beard very long like me, literally would be a brother. But we both cover drag racing photography for Sport Compact, pro mods, things like that. So that takes up a good amount of my time. And generally, I have a period of time from, say, like September all the way through second week of November. It's race season. And I have a race usually every single weekend. And I'll be honest, I do better with SoftSpot, that company, than I do with Midway. SoftSpot has over 100 and something thousand people that we have on there. It's a very popular brand, very profitable. And Midway is kind of my side gig, but it's a full-time thing for me. But as far as, does it make me have to get out to the parks? The other reason is, I'll be completely honest, depression sucks, guys. It really does. There's many a times where I've said, I'm not 100%. I don't believe everybody in this world is 100%, but I have a lot of times where there are dark clouds, and I'm not afraid to say that or ashamed. But that's why I go silent sometimes, where it's just, I'm taking me time. I need to make sure everything's good, and then I'll find the spark. And I've had many a times where I thought, why would I want to do this? Why should I do Midway? I should just close it, just end it. And I'm like, you're an idiot. Shut up. And it's one of those things, like, it just takes a spark. And I've had it where I felt really down. I've heard something's going to happen, and I go to a park and I see a ride test for the first time. That'll change your mood,
Right.
And it's one of those, this is why I do this. This is why I keep doing this. The other reason is kind of, I love to go fish. I need me time. I found a lot of with doing Midway and whatnot. I don't sleep. I have a lot of insomnia. Basically, I get 3 to 4 hours on average per night. So it's one of those, I'm always up at 4 o'clock in the morning. If you see a little indicator light on our thing, the little green button, that's me. I'm up. So it's like, I'm always editing, and it's a blessing and a curse because I don't sleep. It can affect, how I feel and stuff like that. Yeah. But when people are sleeping, I'm editing, and that gives me kind of an advantage so I can get work out right away. These videos are not very easy as far as getting all the content. Editing sucks. There's no way to say it. It really does. And that can take almost as long, if not longer, than the actual footage that you shot. Oh,
absolutely.
And people don't realize, like I said, I'll spend 7-8 hours at a park and then go edit for another 7-8 hours at home, just so I can have it up by 9 a.m.
Isn't it true, like 5 hours of editing is like 1 minute of video or something crazy?
It depends on the content. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there's some videos that I have that I'll shoot and they go very quickly because I film everything in succession on one camera, and it's back to back to back to back. That's easy stuff. But when I start mixing in 3-4 cameras, multiple angles, all that stuff, that is a nightmare.
Right. I think what you said is really powerful. And of course, for anyone listening out there, I think it helps everyone to hear that someone like you, who I think a lot of people would say is successful, has a powerful YouTube page, someone that they look up to as far as what they want their channel to be, or just something that they would like to do for a living, struggles with the same thing that all of us struggle with. And that YouTube grind and the content creation grind can be very real. I think it's important to always talk to your audience like a real person. And I know part of YouTube and making videos is putting on a happy face and always looking like your time in the park is the best time in the world, or not, or the exact opposite. But just to level with people and say, yeah, not every day is a sunny day, I think is a really good message to put out there.
Well, and I'll be honest, I don't necessarily do that on my page. Like, I don't necessarily tell people I'm having a bad day because I feel like that kind of takes away from the brand itself. I feel that would be best on maybe a personal page. But me personally, I have a Facebook and I only use it just to run Midway. I don't use the social medias the way that maybe some other people do. I like having the social medias, but I try to stay very private. When it comes to these podcasts, I love doing these. And the reason being is because I can tell a different side. I can tell people and all that stuff because, let's be honest, it's not on Midway, and I can kind of open up and be 100% honest. And I will always be honest with my fans and guests.
I was going to say, like, just looking at your page, you wouldn't be able to tell, but there's so much more to Midway Mayhem and yourself, obviously. Just so much deeper into what you do and why you do it. And the message that you send is, obviously, it's not going to be on your business page, but when we do a podcast, we can learn so much more.
Yeah, and that's why I really enjoy these, and that's why I'm so eager to do them, and I'm so thankful that you guys wanted me on because honestly, I have a way to kind of vent and just get things off my chest. It's nice. I don't normally have that.
Agreed.
I don't try to play PC, but I don't also, you don't hear me curse, okay, in my videos or anything else like that. People that know me in person, I curse sometimes and stuff like that, So it's like what you see on camera, like what you said, it's not, I don't want people to look up to me and be like, oh man, he's the greatest role model. I may be a role model. It'd be okay with me, but at the same time, everybody has their flaws. You can't just look at somebody and think of them like Superman. You have to be realistic about it. And that's what I've learned through the years. You can look up to some of the biggest icons in this industry. You go talk to them and they're jerks.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's very humbling to find nice people in this industry, that want to talk and just openly communicate. And that's, I don't know. I find that a lot, far more than not, which is very nice.
Sure. And definitely part of the reason for creating this podcast was to be able to talk with people in this kind of form where we can strip away the channel name and the perception that goes behind, making positive content. There's a lot of kids in the theme park coaster community who enjoy watching videos. And if you say a bad word in your video, I'll be honest, their mom's not going to let them watch it. So like there's playing to that, but then also there's a lot of adults in this community as well, and not everyone is a perfect role model. So it's balancing those two things and being able to be real while providing the kind of videos that people want to and are able to watch.
I'll never forget the one time I had not a curse word, but I said the A word, I guess you could say. I don't know how you guys feel about cursing on this show.
We can bleep it out. We can.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to be nice here on this one, but it's like I literally had in the video, I said, that hauls ass. And I got 3 or 4 comments from parents that were like, how dare you? No. How could you possibly say that word?
And Unsubscribed.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, bye.
It was a positive connotation, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, but that's something that's always stuck out in my mind. But to be honest, it kind of changed how I did videos in a sense. Now I'm more mindful. Yeah. It's one of those, I want to make people happy. I've said it before. If you don't like the way I talk, hit the mute button. If you don't like our video, change the channel. I just want people to enjoy themselves. Like I said, it can be monotonous. It may seem like you're watching Groundhog's Day. It's very repetitious. But we do that because you get, the reason why we do our videos the way that we do them is it kind of gets people in the mindset of they already know what the park looked like the last time we visited. So as we're showing the video, they themselves can look at different things in the video that maybe I didn't notice and say, that's different. And we do get comments like that where they'll point it out and I'll be like, you're right. And that's a cool thing.
Sure. And I think everyone kind of felt like an amateur detective, especially when it came to Velocicoaster. Just the fact that Universal didn't announce it before they started building it. So everyone was looking for clues. Crickets. And it was wild, wasn't it? That they just didn't announce they were building something that everyone could see with their own eyes. But I think it just inspired everyone to be like, oh, what can I find? What is there any theming clues? Is there a raptor egg? Is there a dinosaur statue? And now that all of that's coming up, I feel like a lot of people feel vindicated. Like I knew that was coming.
Yeah. So it's kind of a funny story with this one. When Velocicoaster was starting to get built and all that, right? That's when COVID was hitting and all that jazz. So we were on lockdown and all that stuff, and you weren't able to go out unless you were getting groceries or it was essential, right? There came a point in time where I was literally trying to plan my grocery visits just so that I could potentially see a piece of track going by on a truck.
I don't doubt that in one bit.
And we got it.
No way.
So we literally played kind of like private detective and all that stuff. Yeah. And as we're going to the grocery store, I see it pull out of the thing and it's follow it.
That's awesome.
So we
it's like a movie.
That
follow
truck
that
all the way
truck.
Universal. Yeah. So, but it was kind of neat, and obviously we respected all the laws, and we weren't being creepy, being like, "Hey, pull over! I'm gonna steal this track," But it was a very interesting times because we're thinking, "Am I gonna get pulled over? Am I gonna go to jail because I was looking at a piece of track?" It was very weird, but it was interesting times, and it's one of those memories that I will always have.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
The people need the content. They
need the content.
Well, I think you're right that because a lot of these were being built during COVID times, a lot of the schedules got messed up. Obviously, with Iron Gwazi supposed to open last year, now being pushed, and
I'm so sad.
Yeah, you and everybody else in the community when it comes to that ride. Between the three of them, and again, you already said you're a big Intamin fan, so we might guess the answer. But between the three of them being Icebreaker, Iron Gwazi, and Velocicoaster, what's been your favorite to document and cover?
I think Gwazi, and that's because I have history with it, because I used to work for Busch Gardens Tampa Bay, and the first attraction I ever worked was Gwazi.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
So I worked on that crew for many a months. They shut it down for the renovation. with the Millennium Flyer trains, and I was on opening team for that and got to test it and do all that kind of stuff. So Gwazi has always been a special place in my heart.
What year was that? Because I rode Gwazi at one point in my life.
Oh God, you're trying to make me look through years in my head. That's terrible. No, I think it was something like 2006.
Oh no, nope, not me. Never mind.
I could have been me. Could have been me. I remember. I mean, so full disclosure, we did have some original Gwazi hate in our first episode with Airtime Mike, where we remember it being really rough. But and of course that's why they turned it to Iron Gwazi. But I can imagine you working on it. There's so much nostalgia and fond memories packed into your anticipation for Iron Gwazi.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite things to do, and it's a shame that Busch Gardens couldn't do a dueling coaster or something like that. It would have been neat, but ungodly amounts of money. But one of my favorite things is getting people hyped up in the station, and they didn't used to do it. Like, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I wanted to make that thing dual again. So we put it in dual mode, and whenever I was on platform, I'll be damned if that thing didn't duel. You know, it was one of those things, like, I try to make the guest experience fun. So like I'd give the signal and it's my two pointer fingers in the air and it's the back and forth motion. It's send them both. So, and I would get all the guests hyped up on the train. Be like, you're going to take down Lion Side. You're going to take down Tiger Side. You know, and it was a lot of fun with that.
Those are my favorite kind of employees. Yeah.
I mean, and that's the big thing with dueling.
That thing.
That's the big thing with dueling coasters is that a lot of the time they don't duel. And the difference between when a dueling coaster is dueling, like I'm thinking Lightning Racer at Hershey Park, which more times than not duels, and then like West Coast Racers, which very rarely duels, it's a huge difference. And so, yeah, I can imagine when you've got Lion versus Tiger and everyone's hyped up, that's a pretty wild experience.
Yeah, and then when we had the renovation happen, Gwazi was good for about 6 months, and then she beat herself to death. So it was good during that period of time, but then afterwards, the ride, it's Florida, man. We have all sorts of weather. Right. The ground is sand and liquid 10 feet down. You know, it's very tricky to navigate and construct.
Sure.
But seeing the construction progress with Iron Gwazi, it was neat because that thing sat and rotted. Okay. They say 70% originally what their press release was. 70% of the structure is coming down. We're going to save 30. Ended up being somewhere closer to probably 17%.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
She was not in good shape. Yeah. So it was pretty much a full ground up build. But it's on the site. It's Iron Gwazi, same station, you know, all that stuff like that. So, she still lives on, and that's why I think I was so invested with this one. Yeah, I was invested from the previous experiences and whatnot, and it's one of those things like getting to know again the employees, the guys from RMC that were climbing and building the ride and whatnot. Jake is a guy that I spoke to quite a bit. Jake Kaminsky, who unfortunately passed away this past year on the Starflyer. I grew pretty close with him. I worked with him, you know, and it was interesting seeing all the other people's reactions, you know, when he did pass away. But I think that's another reason why I look to Gwazi for hope.
Yeah.
I look for closure, I guess you can say, you know?
Sure. No, I think one of the things that really endeared me to the coaster community when that tragedy happened was how everyone rallied around that cause, even when they had never met him or didn't know him. News went out everywhere, and immediately the GoFundMe went up and the petition went up to put a memorial in his name. So obviously a horrible thing to happen, but I think, like you're saying, a sign of how close this community can be and a good beacon of hope for the future in the continued construction and eventual finishing of Iron Gwazi, which I'm sure he would have loved to have seen and will be looking onto.
Yeah, and I haven't told anybody else this except for maybe Nelson and a few other really close people in my life, but my game plan is the very first ride that I ever do on Iron Gwazi, I'm leaving the seat next to me open.
Oh, that's sweet.
I think that's a great tribute, and I think a lot of people feel the same way, and just the fact that we can all come together for something like that and appreciate the people who are so dedicated to filming theme parks and filming coasters and working on them. that we just appreciate a kindred spirit when we see one.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm excited for once the ride does open, because I know it's going to be an incredible ride, and it's got so much more meaning behind it than just the ride itself.
Sure.
Velocicoaster's nice. It's something that I've been invested in, but I still feel Iron Gwazi is probably the one, definitely. It's the one that's been on my brain for the longest. And I'll be honest, there was a running thing last year. I was growing my hair out. I told Lauren I was going to cut it. And I said, I'll cut it when I ride Iron Gwazi. And the reason being is because I wanted to show the hair flying through the air. And that bit me in the butt, didn't it, ladies and gentlemen?
Did you keep growing it, or what happened? Are we still growing?
My hair is now down past my shoulders.
Oh my God.
That was a rough bet to make there.
Yeah, I have been referred to as Coaster Jesus so many times it's not even funny.
Oh, that's perfect.
So I have this giant beard, and now I have really long hair. I'm starting to look like the Big Lebowski of coaster industry.
Nice. It's not too bad when it gets cold out.
Yeah.
The day you're finally able to ride Iron Gwazi, I'm sure potentially your wife will be like, yes, he's able to cut his hair.
But here's the fun thing. I don't know if I'm going to, because I hate to say it, and that's a part of doing what we do with Midway. People recognize me.
Is it growing on you?
Beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well as I get noticed in parks because of the beard. Obviously, with the masks and stuff like that, it's a little bit different. But it's still fun that when people can. I've had so many times where I've gone to a park and I'm filming, and people are walking, and I've seen them literally stop dead in their tracks. And they listen and they hear the voice, and that's the first thing they notice. And it's not even me; it's the voice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty. You've made it somehow when people can recognize you by your voice, and I think the hair is just maybe another iconic addition to that ensemble.
Yeah, and whenever it does happen, I'm not one that has ever done charity things in my life. I want to do more of them, to be honest. But I definitely plan on doing wigs for kids or locks for love. So I plan on, as soon as I actually do cut it, I'm going to be donating it.
I did locks for love. I cut my hair to like Adam's length at one point. So
yeah, it's
a good experience.
Yeah.
It takes a big weight off your shoulders, but
yeah, absolutely.
It's cool.
Oh, 2 puns in one, Tess. I love the humor going on over there. Yeah, exactly. Between those 3 coasters, I imagine then fans of the channel, of your channel, looking forward to some POVs as soon as those open, whenever that is, soft openings potentially soon.
Let's put it this way. If Gwazi were to open tomorrow, I would be there. I'd already be in line. It's as soon as we hear anything, we share it right away on our pages and stuff like that. Obviously, stuff that is sensitive and getting people in trouble, we're not going to be doing that. So I do play things close to the chest, but we also give out hints. If you really pay attention to our videos, and if I'm really pointing something out, take notice. Little things like icebreaker. Okay. They just started testing with their second train tonight. It was the first time ever. So first time that thing has ever gone around the course. We've done probably 200, almost 300 tests with the other train. Well, guess what? By the end of the month, we're probably going to have the ride handed over to SeaWorld. Well, it takes generally about 2 weeks of testing and training with the employees. So where does that put us?
Write that down.
Right about mid-March. So potentially that's what it looks like right now. Now, Park and SeaWorld Corporate could be like, nope, not happening. Same situation with Gwazi. Gwazi is 100% ready to go, but does not have employees trained.
Right.
So they could literally say, yo, next week, train these employees. We could have that thing open in 2 weeks, Right. But it's all a guessing game right now. But I'm feeling very plausible. The end of March and April is looking good for Icebreaker. I also feel the same way about Velocicoaster, considering they are now testing all 4 or 5 trains on the track. Has the ride had some issues? Yeah, it has. It didn't test for a week and a half recently, but they've come back strong, and we know that employees have been hired. They are training on the attraction. That doesn't happen for no reason, ladies and gentlemen. That's them getting it ready. So if you really pay attention to this stuff for long enough, you'll start to pick up the patterns and trends. That's why people ask me all the time, do you get inside info? Sometimes we do, but it's also, I have enough experience following these things that I can give you a general timeline of when something's going to happen. I've said March and April, even when we didn't have this COVID stuff, before all these, that was when they were aiming for, and originally that was when they were planning on it. So Iron Gwazi, heck if I know what's going on that thing. I don't know. She's a mystery. Frustrating. That's the easiest word to say it, I guess. It's one of those, like, it's literally the world's most expensive lawn ornament, and it is only used for photos currently. Why?
And one heck of
I
a
get
POV
it because of
video,
capacity or safety. You could give me 25 different reasons. I've had literally a park manager tell me, our revenue's down a little bit, and just during the certain time period, he's like, I wonder what we could do to fix that. And I literally pointed at Iron Gwazi and I said, this.
Right.
Your answer is literally right in front of you.
There.
What do you want?
I know as soon as that thing opens, there's going to be a number of people furiously Googling flights to Tampa, Florida in order to get on it because it just looks incredible.
OIA and Tampa are going to be swamped.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I think just in general, it's an exciting time to be a coaster enthusiast with those things coming up. 2021 proving to potentially be a much, much better year than 2020 and an exciting time to be going to theme parks. And the perfect segue to say, as you very well said, your videos on your channel, a great way to look for some hints or some little details that might let you know when's a good time to start planning your trip to Orlando or Tampa, Florida.
Yeah. We always say in our videos, if something's going on, we'll let you know. And I think that's one reason why we are popular is because we do have kind of a pretty good track record. I have no shame admitting I will be wrong. Okay. It happens. Okay. I don't have a magic 8-ball in front of my hand the entire time. I don't have somebody whispering in my ear, that kind of stuff. But it's one of those things, pay attention because generally pretty right, pretty good, or at least on the right track.
I think someone who's spending 8 hours in the park waiting for the one perfect shot might have a pretty good handle, in my opinion, a pretty good handle of what's going on in the industry and at the park. So I think your videos are a great way to try to get the inside scoop on that. And that being said, I think a perfect time to say thank you so much for coming on the show. And why don't you go ahead and give your whatever you got going on a plug for people to go follow and keep up to date with all of that amazing coaster news.
Honestly, we just have the social medias, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of them just Midway Mayhem. There's different variations. You find Midway Mayhem, it's probably going to be us. But it's one of those, I cannot say thank you enough to all the people in the industry that have gotten me to this point. I want to say thank you to my wife for all the love and support. My mom, same situation, kind of a little backstory on this one real quick. There was a point in time where I was working at a really crappy job and I called her up and I was like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm starting a YouTube. And she said, go for it. And ever since that day, she's always been there supporting. So a big shout out to mom, family, Nelson for all his help. And for those that are truly close to me and support me, or even just the fans that hope to see us do better in the future, I promise to do my best to not let you down when it comes to the content or how things go on in parks. We don't post anything political. We don't post anything personal. We're there for the facts, and that's it. We want to show what's going on in the parks. We will let you make your own opinions after that. And it's one of those, I just want to say thank you to all the people that have spent hours, time, minutes, watching online or talking to me in person. You give me life just like doing this podcast. And I cannot say thank you to both of you for giving me this avenue to just kind of speak and talk to everybody. That's amazing.
No, so what a great message. And thank you for reminding me to thank all of the people behind our channel as well in this podcast. We are a husband and wife. I don't know if we even mentioned that before we started. We are a husband and wife team as well. And it's always good to have family involved with the things you love and to share a hobby together, to share content creation together, to be able to get hyped about things like a new test with water dummies on a coaster. There's nothing like being able to share that with your loved ones. And so thank you so much for coming on the show. And of course, we hope to have you on the show again soon. Whenever you're available to talk about all of the amazing things happening in the industry. What a time to be alive. And just in general, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I I'm very busy, but I will always try to make time for people that I care about and for this industry. So you shoot me an email and let me know of a time, and I'm more than glad to come back and talk with you guys. It has been a truly enjoyable experience. It's one of my favorites. So
yes,
let's do this again.
Thanks so much. And you guys heard it here first. Be sure to check out the very busy Midway Mayhem on all of his social media channels, including YouTube and Instagram, for more of that amazing theme park content, that drone videography, and of course, that delicious theme park news that we're all craving. And that's our show for today. Thanks again to Midway Mayhem for coming on and giving us that incredible interview. And thank you to you, the listener, for continuing to tune in. If you enjoyed this show, be sure to give it a like, give it a comment, give it a rating, and spread the word to all of your friends. We would really appreciate it. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube and you do not follow us on Instagram, now would be the time to do so. We hope to see you again in 2 weeks when we're back with another episode of the Theme Park Blitzcast. Bye for now.